just abusing a cello. I'm sorry.
That's metal. That is the origin of metal, baby. I know that was painful for you. I'll explain why I like
yes,
it. But...
I know you have an affinity for this band that lots of people like. Mm-hmm. I am interested to hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, beyond a couple of the song's virtues, I won't try to convince you of the overall appeal of the Beach Boys. I will more factually state why I appreciate Brian Wilson in particular. But why this song is if there are a few things about it that I just kind of hear the seeds of like so much music that came after. When I say that's metal, when I hear the cellos, it's because that's so much of the rhythm in metal. There's just that chugga-da, 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 chugga-da. Like, there really is very little of that before that song that I'm aware of. You know, it really has a vibe that seemed very rare for the period, and that's true of a few of those movements. I like that Brian Wilson does movements in songs. I know that's not your favorite.
I don't mind the movement. I don't know, and I'm not hearing the things that you hear, yeah, and again, I don't hear history in that. I just hear.
Yeah, that definitely colors my appreciation.
Yes, I don't hear those things. Yeah. So
well, so for some context, like just in that history appreciation, what I love so much about Brian Wilson is how outside of the sort of like war of like Beatle versus Rolling Stones fandom he was, because while he was definitely like reacting to a lot of the stuff that the Beatles put out in particular, he kind of considered himself like a rival to Paul McCartney in a strange way, you know, like bizarrely obsessive way, which Paul reciprocated, FYI. Like
weird.
He would hear stuff that the Beach Boys did and went like, oh, all right, I'm gonna do something like weirder and more complicated, and then kind of fail. But that was like Paul. But yeah, I think Brian Wilson just had a talent completely outside of the kind of realm of songs that the Beatles and Rolling Stones were putting together, and I only compare them because they were compared so much at the time. And really, like, Brian Wilson deserved to be in that fight too, in my mind. That's the level of my appreciation. And I think what really set him apart is this song is a good example of, in that he really did not think of things in terms of like a single that was going to do well. Like he was truly, at least for what this was worth and is still worth, a purist of like artistic expression. You know, I love him to death for that. Plus he's insane.
Plus he's insane.
That's always a fun ride from the outside looking in.
Go ahead.
No, the only other note I had is there is a version of Good Vibrations on the Smile album that came out in, I'm going to say 2006. Oh. And then, because there was a whole album planned that kind of sounded this strange. And about half of it got recorded, I think, on this thing called Smiley Smile, which did eventually come out. But the Smile album was a complete reimagining, for all intents and purposes, with a completely new band. And for the most part, I like it. But when it gets to that album's version of Good Vibrations, it feels weirdly sterile. Which then makes you kind of look at the whole Smile album and go, what could the rest of this have been if the quality between the old version and the new version is that disparate? And we'll never know.
We won't. I think it is a fine song. It is just not to my taste. As with like all of the Beach Boys.
Yeah. So. I was torn between this and God Only Knows.
Oh boy. You know what? I had wondered about that one, because I think that you reference that way more, like a lot. Yeah. You reference it.
It's shorter, and the subject matter has less interest for me, so this one went out. But yeah, I use God Only Knows to like get other earworms out of my head.
I was gonna say that's your earworms fix. So,
yes. It works. It's a short song. It has a lot of movements. It'll erase any other goofy thing that gets in your head you can't get out. I recommend it.
Goofy thing? How dare you?
Whatever's playing in the Taco Bell speakers. If I need to get that out of my head.
Sometimes
Jason Mraz.
it is Smash Mouth. Yes.
Yeah. If I need to get some hybrid of Smash Mouth, Chumbawamba, and Jason Mraz out of my head, I will use God Only Knows. It's a good tool.
I'll just put something else on that's really loud. Or that makes me happy. Anyway.
What's next from you, Kimmy?
Well, I'm Kimmy, and this is Kimya Dawson with My Heroes.